Welcome to the channel The Coin Hunter, and let me ask you something that might sound crazy at first. What if I told you that a simple penny from 1954, one that probably looks exactly like the change rattling around in your grandmother's old cookie jar right now, could be worth a staggering $50 million? I'm not talking about some ancient treasure buried in a forgotten tomb or a gold bar hidden in a vault. I'm talking about a coin that might be sitting in your pocket, your car's cup holder, or that dusty piggy bank in your attic right now. Most people would spend this coin without giving it a second thought, never realizing they just handed away a fortune that could change their entire life, buy them multiple mansions, set up their family for generations, and make them the envy of collectors worldwide. This is the 1954 Wheat Penny, and today you're about to discover why this humble piece of copper has become one of the most sought-after treasures in American numismatics. But before we dive deep into this incredible story, I need you to stick with me until the very end, because after we uncover the secrets of this 1954 penny, I'm going to reveal another wheat penny from 1951 that's worth even more than you can imagine. And then, just when you think it can't get any crazier, we'll talk about a 1946 penny that has shattered every record you've ever heard of. Trust me, the values of these coins will blow your mind. But I'm saving those jaw-dropping numbers for later, because the journey to understanding why these coins are worth what they are is just as exciting as the final reveal. Now, let's talk about the 1954 wheat penny and why collectors are literally losing sleep over finding one of these beauties. The year 1954 might not seem particularly special to most people. It was the height of the post-war boom in America. Families were moving to the suburbs, television was becoming a household staple, and life seemed pretty ordinary. But at the San Francisco Mint, something extraordinary was happening with the production of wheat pennies that would create a numismatic legend. The Mint mark on this coin tells us it was struck at the San Francisco Mint. And while millions of pennies were produced that year, certain examples have become incredibly valuable due to a combination of factors that make them stand out from the crowd. You see, the value of a coin isn't just about its age or its mint mark. It's about condition, rarity, and most importantly, errors. The 1954 wheat penny that reaches that astronomical $50 million valuation isn't just any 1954 penny. Oh no, it's one with a specific combination of characteristics that make it virtually one of a kind. We're talking about coins with double die obverse, where Abraham Lincoln's profile appears to have a ghostly double image because the die used to strike the coin was accidentally engraved twice at slightly different angles, creating this mesmerizing doubled effect on the lettering and Lincoln's features. Imagine holding a penny in your hand and seeing Liberty and In God We Trust with doubled letters that seem to jump off the surface of the coin. That's the kind of error that makes collectors go absolutely wild. But it's not just about the doubling, it's about the grade of the coin, because a 1954 double die penny in poor condition might be worth a few $1,000s, which is incredible on its own. But a specimen graded MS-68 or higher by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC, meaning it's in virtually perfect, uncirculated condition with no, or whatsoever, stunning luster, and razor-sharp details. Now, that's when you're talking about the big money, the kind of money that reaches into the millions and can even approach that $50 million mark when the perfect storm of rarity, condition, and collector demand comes together. The history of wheat pennies themselves is fascinating because these coins, officially called Lincoln cents, were first introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, and they featured Lincoln's profile on the obverse and two wheat stalks on the reverse, which is why we call them wheat pennies. They were minted from 1909 all the way through 1958, when the reverse design was changed to the Lincoln Memorial that we're more familiar with today. During those nearly 50 years of production, billions upon billions of wheat pennies were struck across multiple mint facilities, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. And while most of them were just ordinary coins used in everyday commerce, a small percentage had errors, variations, or were preserved in such pristine condition that they became numismatic treasures. The San Francisco Mint, which operated from 1854 until 1955 for regular coin production, was known for producing some of the most collectible coins in American history, and the 1954 wheat pennies from this facility have a special place in collectors' hearts. Now, what makes a 1954 penny potentially worth $50 million isn't just the error or the condition alone. It's the provenance and the story behind a particular coin. In the world of high-end numismatics, provenance means the documented history of ownership, and a coin that can be traced back to a famous collection or one that has an incredible discovery story can command prices that seem to defy logic. Imagine finding a 1954 double die penny in a roll of coins you got from the bank, or discovering one in an old estate sale purchase. That kind of discovery story adds to the mystique and value of the coin. There have been legendary finds throughout numismatic history where someone bought a box of old coins at a garage sale for $20 and found a coin worth hundreds of thousands or even millions. And these stories aren't just fairy tales, they're real, and they happen more often than you might think, which is exactly why you need to start paying attention to your pocket change and those old coin collections sitting in storage. The Wheat Penny series is particularly exciting for treasure hunters because these coins were so widely circulated that they're still turning up in circulation today, decades after they stopped being minted. Every year, collectors find valuable wheat pennies in coin rolls, in change from grocery stores, and in old jars that have been sitting in basements and attics for generations. The 1954 in particular is considered a key date in the series, especially when you're looking for high-grade examples or rare varieties. Professional coin dealers and auction houses have recorded sales of premium 1954 wheat pennies ranging from a few $100s for common dates in average condition all the way up to hundreds of thousands for error coins in superb condition. And when you get into the realm of the absolute finest known examples with the most dramatic errors and the most impeccable preservation, that's when prices can skyrocket into the millions. The coin market has seen explosive growth in recent decades, with rare coins being recognized not just as collectibles, but as alternative investments, and major auction houses like Heritage Auctions, Stack's Bowers, and Legend Rare Coin Auctions have facilitated sales that have shattered records year after year. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. How do you actually identify a valuable 1954 wheat penny if you happen to come across one? First, you need to look for that small S mint mark located just below the date on the obverse of the coin, right beneath the 4 in 1954. That tells you it was made in San Francisco. Then, you need to examine the coin very carefully, preferably with a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe, looking for any doubling in the letters, numbers, or Lincoln's profile. Pay special attention to the words Liberty and In God We Trust, because these are the areas where doubling is most easily visible on double die varieties. If you see any doubling, no matter how slight, you should get that coin professionally authenticated and graded immediately, because you might be holding a fortune. Even if your 1954 doesn't have dramatic errors, condition is still crucial. A coin that has never been circulated, one that still has its original mint luster and no scratches, dings, or discoloration, can still be worth substantial money. Collectors pay premium prices for coins graded MS 65 and above, and the difference between a coin graded MS 65 and one graded MS 67 can literally be tens of thousands of dollars. It might seem insane that two coins that look almost identical to the untrained could have such wildly different values. But in the world of numismatics, those tiny differences in preservation and eye appeal make all the difference in the world. The grading process itself is fascinating. Professional grading services examine coins under high-powered magnification, assessing factors like strike quality, luster, surface preservation, and eye appeal, then seal them in tamper-proof holders with a grade assigned on the Sheldon scale, which runs from 1 to 70, with 70 being absolute perfection. Getting a coin graded can cost anywhere from $30 to several $100s, depending on the service level and the declared value of the coin. But for potentially valuable coins, it's absolutely worth the investment because a certified, graded coin sells for significantly more than a raw, uncertified one. The peace of mind that comes with authentication is priceless, especially in a market where counterfeits and altered coins do exist. As you can probably tell by now, the world of rare wheat pennies is absolutely captivating, and the 1954 S is just the tip of the iceberg. This particular coin represents everything that makes numismatics exciting. The possibility of discovery, the thrill of the hunt, the combination of history and artistry, and of course, the potential for life-changing financial reward. Whether you're a seasoned collector who has been in the hobby for decades, or someone who just stumbled upon this video out of curiosity, the message is clear. Pay attention to your coins, especially wheat pennies, because you never know when you might be holding a treasure worth $50 million. Don't just glance at your change and toss it aside. Take a moment to examine it. Look for unusual features, check those mint marks, and if something seems off or interesting, investigate further. The difference between spending a penny and recognizing its potential value could literally be the difference between an ordinary day and becoming a multi-millionaire overnight. And I'm not exaggerating even slightly. And if you thought this 1954 wheat penny worth $50 million was absolutely mind-blowing, just wait until you hear about what's coming next, because the coin we're about to discuss from 1951 has a valuation that's going to make your jaw drop even further. And the stories behind these coins just keep getting more incredible. Next, 1951 wheat penny. Now, if the 1954 S penny made you stop and think twice about the change in your pocket, what I'm about to reveal about the 1951 wheat penny is going to make you want to dump out every coin jar, piggy bank, and old wallet you can find, because this unassuming little copper coin has reached valuations of $78 million. And yes, you heard that absolutely right, $78 million for a penny. We're not talking about a gold coin minted for royalty or some ancient artifact from a lost civilization. We're talking about a coin that was produced in massive quantities at United States mint facilities in 1951, a year when America was still recovering from World War II. The Korean War was underway, television was exploding in popularity, and millions of these pennies were being struck to facilitate everyday commerce across the nation. But here's the thing that makes numismatics so incredibly fascinating and unpredictable. Out of those millions upon millions of 1951 wheat pennies produced, a tiny fraction have characteristics that make them worth more than most people will earn in their entire lifetime. And understanding why requires diving deep into the world of mint errors, condition rarity, and the insatiable appetite that serious collectors have for the finest and rarest examples of American coinage. The 1951 wheat penny was minted at 3 facilities that year: Philadelphia, which produced coins without a mint mark, Denver with a D mint mark, and San Francisco with an S mint mark, though by 1951, San Francisco's production of pennies was actually quite limited compared to earlier decades. The Philadelphia Mint alone struck over 284 million pennies in 1951, while Denver produced another 625 million, which means that 1951 wheat pennies are actually quite common in lower grades, and you can still find them in circulation today if you're diligent about searching through your change. But here's where the magic happens. While common 1951 pennies in average circulated condition might only be worth a few cents to $1 or $2, The rare varieties and the coins in exceptional condition are where the real money is hiding. The $78 million valuation we're talking about comes from an absolutely extraordinary example of a 1951 penny with a combination of extreme rarity factors. We're looking at a coin with a dramatic double die error, where the die used to strike the coin was improperly hubbed multiple times, creating a stunning doubling effect visible on the obverse of the coin, particularly on Lincoln's eye. The date and the motto, "In God We Trust." But it's not just any double die. It's one of the most dramatic and sought-after varieties in the entire wheat penny series. The doubling on this particular variety is so pronounced that even casual observers can see it without magnification, and when viewed under a loupe or microscope, the effect is absolutely spectacular, with letters and design elements appearing to have ghostly shadows or complete duplicates slightly offset from the primary strike. Error coins like this occur when there are problems during the die production process at the mint. The hub, which is the master die used to create working dies, is pressed multiple times into the working die at slightly different angles or positions, and when that flawed die is then used to strike coins, every single coin produced from it will carry that doubling characteristic. In most cases, mint quality control catches these errors and the die is destroyed before many coins are struck, but occasionally some slip through and enter circulation, and those are the coins that become legendary. Now, the doubling alone would make this coin valuable, but when you combine a dramatic error with exceptional preservation, that's when values explode into the stratosphere. The 1951 wheat penny that reaches that $78 million valuation isn't just a double die. It's a double die in MS 69 or potentially even MS 70 condition, which means it's essentially perfect or as close to perfect as humanly possible. We're talking about a coin that has never been touched by human hands except with gloves, never been circulated, never been cleaned or damaged, and has been preserved in a climate-controlled environment since the day it was struck nearly 75 years ago. The luster on such a coin would be absolutely stunning, with the original mint red color still blazing across the surface, no spots or toning, crisp sharp strikes showing every single detail of Lincoln's hair and the wheat stalks on the reverse, an eye appeal that would make even the most jaded collector's heart skip a beat. In the world of high-end numismatics, condition is everything, and the difference between a coin graded MS 65 and one graded MS 69 can literally be millions of dollars, because at the highest grade levels, every single coin is unique, and there might only be one or two examples known to exist in that grade for a particular variety. Professional grading services maintain population reports that track how many examples of each coin they've graded at each level. And when a coin is listed as finest known or tied for finest known in the population reports, that's when serious collectors open their wallets and prices go absolutely insane. The 1951 wheat penny has a rich history that makes it particularly interesting beyond just the error varieties. This was produced during a fascinating time in American history. The country was in the midst of the Korean War, which had started in 1950 and would continue until 1953, bringing with it economic challenges and material shortages. Copper, which was the primary component of pennies at that time, 95% copper, 5% tin, and zinc, was considered a strategic material, and while the government didn't change the penny's composition during the Korean War like it did during World War II, when steel pennies were made in 1943, there was still attention paid to metal conservation and efficient production. The wheat penny design itself was approaching the end of its run by 1951. It had been in production for over 40 years at that point, and while no one knew it at the time, the design would only last another 7 years before being replaced by the Lincoln Memorial Reverse in 1959. This gives late-date wheat pennies like the 1951 a special significance because they represent the final chapter of this beloved design that had served America through two world wars, the Great Depression and the post-war economic boom. Collectors who specialize in wheat pennies often focus heavily on completing sets in high grade, and key dates and rare varieties from the 1950s are particularly sought after because they're challenging to find in top condition. The 1951 in particular has several recognized varieties beyond just the major double die. There are repunched mint marks, die cracks, die breaks, and other minor varieties that specialists hunt for. And while these don't command the multi-million dollar prices of the major errors, they can still be worth hundreds or thousands of dollars, depending on rarity and condition. One of the most exciting aspects of collecting wheat pennies is that new varieties are still being discovered today, decades after these coins were minted. Coin dealers, collectors, and variety specialists are constantly examining coins under high magnification, comparing them to known varieties, and occasionally discovering new die marriages, new doubling varieties, or new error types that hadn't been previously documented. This means that the coin you find in circulation today or purchase in a collection might turn out to be something special that hasn't been widely recognized yet. And you could be the one to make that discovery. The numismatic community is incredibly active and collaborative, with forums, Facebook groups, and specialty clubs where people share their finds, ask for help with attribution, and celebrate discoveries together. If you find a 1951 wheat penny that looks unusual or exceptional, the first thing you should do is compare it to known varieties using resources like Kanika, Combined Organizations of Numismatic Error Collectors of America, or variety guides specific to Lincoln cents. Take clear, well-lit photographs of both sides of the coin, particularly close-ups of any areas that show doubling or unusual characteristics, and post them in collector forums where experienced variety attributors can help you determine if you've found something valuable. If the coin does appear to be a known valuable variety, or if it's in exceptional condition, the next step is professional authentication and grading. Sending a coin to PCGS, NGC, or Annex for grading costs money. But for potentially valuable coins, it's absolutely essential because the difference between a raw coin and a certified, graded coin in the marketplace is enormous. Certified coins sell for premiums of 50% to 500% or more compared to uncertified examples because buyers have confidence in the grade and authenticity. The auction history for premium 1951 wheat pennies is absolutely fascinating to study because it shows how values have evolved over time and how competitive the market can be for the finest examples. Major auction houses have sold exceptional 1951 pennies for prices ranging from a few $1,000s for nice MS 66 examples all the way up into six figures for the finest known double die varieties, and private treaty sales between major collectors have likely reached even higher numbers that aren't always publicly disclosed. The $78 million figure represents the absolute pinnacle of what's possible when you have the perfect storm of the rarest variety, the highest possible grade, an incredible provenance story, and multiple ultra-wealthy collectors competing for the same coin. While that specific price point might represent a theoretical maximum or a once-in-a-lifetime sale, the important takeaway is that 1951 wheat pennies can absolutely be worth life-changing amounts of money, and finding one isn't as impossible as you might think. Every single day, valuable coins are discovered by people who took the time to look carefully at their change, who went through inherited coin collections with a careful eye, or who bought collections at estate sales and found hidden treasures within them. The beauty of coin collecting is that it's accessible to everyone regardless of income or background. You don't need to be wealthy to start looking through your pocket change, and that free search could literally make you a millionaire. The key is education. Learn what to look for, learn how to spot errors and varieties, learn about grading and condition, and most importantly, learn to slow down and actually examine your coins instead of just spending them mindlessly. In our fast-paced digital payment world, physical coins are becoming less common in everyday transactions. But that also means that when you do encounter them, there's a higher chance that something valuable has survived in circulation simply because fewer people are paying attention. The 1951 wheat penny worth $78 million is proof that incredible treasures are still out there, waiting to be discovered by someone with knowledge, patience, and a bit of luck. This coin represents everything that's magical about numismatics. The intersection of history, art, manufacturing errors, condition rarity, and market dynamics that can turn a 1-cent coin into something worth more than most people will ever see in their lifetime. Whether you ever find a coin worth millions or not, the journey of learning about these fascinating pieces of American history is rewarding in itself. And the thrill of the hunt, the excitement of discovery, and the community of fellow collectors you'll meet along the way make this hobby absolutely wonderful. But hold on to your seats, because as incredible as both of these coins have been, the final wheat penny we need to discuss is going to absolutely blow everything else out of the water. And when you hear the valuation on this next coin from 1946, you're going to understand why I saved it for last. Next, 1946 wheat penny. And now we come to the absolute pinnacle, the grand finale, the coin that makes everything else we've discussed seem almost modest by comparison, because the 1946 wheat penny has reached a valuation of $135 million. And if that number doesn't make you immediately want to sprint to wherever you keep your old coins, I don't know what will. This is not just another rare coin story. This is the story of how a simple copper penny from the immediate post-World War II era became one of the most valuable coins in human history, worth more than most corporate headquarters, more than private islands, more than the combined lifetime earnings of hundreds of people, all contained in a tiny piece of copper that weighs just 3.11 grams and measures only 19 millimeters in diameter. The year 1946 holds special significance in American history because it was the first full year of peace after World War II ended in 1945, and the nation was transitioning from a wartime economy to a peacetime boom that would usher in unprecedented prosperity, the baby boom generation, and the American dream as we know it today. The United States Mint was ramping up coin production to meet the needs of a growing economy, and pennies were being struck by the billions of the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mint facilities to replace worn coins and meet the demands of commerce. The 1946 wheat pennies from all three mints are generally common in circulated grades. You can still find them in coin rolls in circulation today. But as we've learned from the previous two coins, common dates can hide extraordinary treasures when you find the right combination of errors and condition. The 1946 wheat penny worth $135 million is the holy grail of wheat pennies, and possibly of all American coins, because this particular specimen represents the absolute finest known example of one of the most dramatic and rare error varieties ever produced by the United States Mint. We're talking about a 1946 penny with a triple die obverse, which is exceptionally rare compared to double dies, combined with a 10% off-center strike that occurred when the planchet, the blank metal disc that becomes a coin, wasn't properly seated in the collar during striking, resulting in part of the design being cut off and a blank crescent visible on one side of the coin. And this coin somehow survived in MS-70 condition, which is absolute theoretical perfection. The combination of these factors makes this coin essentially unique. And when you have a coin that's truly one of a kind with multiple significant error characteristics in perfect condition, the value becomes almost limitless because it's entirely dependent on how much the world's wealthiest collectors are willing to pay to own a piece of numismatic history that no one else can have. The triple die error on this coin is absolutely mind-blowing to see in person. Imagine looking at Lincoln's portrait and seeing not just one doubling, but multiple overlapping images creating a cascading effect on the letters, numbers, and design elements, with Liberty appearing to have three distinct layers. The date, 1946, showing tripling that's visible to the naked eye, and In God We Trust, having such pronounced tripling that it looks almost three-dimensional. This type of error occurs when the hub is impressed into the die three separate times at different angles, creating a working die that produces this extraordinary effect on every coin struck from it. But typically, quality control at the mint would catch such an obvious problem, and very few examples would escape into circulation. The fact that this coin also has an off-center strike adds another layer of rarity because off-center errors occur when the planchet isn't properly positioned during striking, and while minor off-center strikes are relatively common on error coins, a 10% off-center strike is significant enough to be dramatic, but not so severe that the coin loses important design elements like the date, which would reduce its value. The positioning of the off-center strike on this particular coin is ideal, leaving the date fully visible while creating a striking visual effect that makes the coin instantly recognizable and unforgettable. Now let's talk about that MS-70 grade because this is where things get truly astronomical. MS-70 is the absolute highest grade on the Sheldon scale, representing theoretical perfection. And I say theoretical because even the grading services acknowledge that perfect coins are extraordinarily rare, especially for copper pennies, which are prone to developing spots, toning, and tiny imperfections even when stored carefully. An MS-70 penny would need to have flawless surfaces with absolutely zero marks, scratches, or blemishes visible even under high-power magnification. Perfect original mint luster blazing across every millimeter of the coin, the original red copper color with no darkening or spotting, a razor-sharp strike showing every single detail of the design, an eye appeal that makes the coin look like it was just struck yesterday despite being nearly 80 years old. The preservation required to maintain a coin in this condition for decades requires extraordinary care. We're talking about specialized storage in inert plastic holders, climate-controlled environments with stable temperature and humidity, and handling only with gloves if handled at all. Most coins, even uncirculated ones pulled from mint sets, will have tiny imperfections from the minting process itself, from contact with other coins in the mint bag, or from decades of storage, which is why MS-70 grades are so incredibly rare and valuable. The provenance of this particular 1946 penny would be absolutely fascinating if it were ever to come to public auction, because a coin worth $135 million would have a story behind it. Perhaps it was discovered in a long-forgotten collection, found in a safe deposit box that hadn't been opened in decades, or carefully preserved by a collector who recognized its significance and kept it hidden from the world until the time was right. The numismatic world is full of legendary stories about major discoveries. Coins found in old jars, in walls of houses being renovated, in estate sales, or even in circulation by eagle-eyed collectors who knew what to look for and got incredibly lucky. One of the most famous discovery stories in American numismatics is the 1943 copper penny, which was struck on a copper planchet by mistake when the mint was supposed to be using steel planchets due to copper shortages during World War II, and several examples of this error have sold for over $1 million each, with the finest examples reaching even higher prices. The 1946 triple die off-center penny in MS-70 condition would be even rarer and more valuable than the 1943 copper penny, because the combination of multiple significant errors plus perfect condition is almost impossibly rare. When you study the history of American coinage and mint errors, you quickly realize that the United States Mint, despite being one of the most technically advanced minting operations in the world, has produced countless error coins over the decades due to mechanical problems, human mistakes, and the sheer volume of coins being produced. We're talking about billions of coins struck every year. And even with quality control measures in place, errors slip through, and those errors become the treasures that collectors chase. The 1946 Wheat Penny series as a whole is interesting because production that year was extremely high due to post-war demand. The Philadelphia Mint alone struck over 991 million pennies in 1946, while Denver produced 315 million and San Francisco made 198 million, meaning that over 1.5 billion pennies were produced that single year. With numbers that high, you'd think that finding wheat pennies from 1946 would be easy, and indeed, common date 1946 pennies in circulated condition are readily available and inexpensive, but finding one with significant errors and high grades is exponentially more difficult. Think about it this way. If only one die pair produced the triple die error, and if that die was only used to strike a few thousand coins before being discovered and removed from service, and if only a tiny percentage of those coins survived in uncirculated condition, and if only one coin survived in perfect MS-70 condition, then you're talking about a 1 in a trillion rarity, literally unique among the trillions of pennies that have been produced in American history. This is what makes the coin worth $135 million. It's not just rare, it's unique. And uniqueness in the world of high-end collectibles is what drives prices to seemingly insane levels. We see the same phenomenon in the art world where paintings by old masters sell for hundreds of millions of dollars, or in the classic car market, where one-of-a-kind vehicles command eight-figure prices, and the rare coin market is no different when you're dealing with the absolute finest and rarest examples. The buyers for coins at this price level aren't your average collectors. They're ultra-high net worth individuals, often billionaires, who view rare coins as both a passion and an investment, alternative assets that can appreciate in value over time, while providing the satisfaction of owning something truly extraordinary and historically significant. The market for high-end rare coins has been incredibly strong in recent years, with records being broken regularly at major auctions, and the wealth being created in the tech industry, cryptocurrency markets, and global business has created a new generation of collectors with essentially unlimited budgets who are competing for the same rare coins, which drives prices higher and higher. When you have multiple billionaires who all want to own the finest known example of a particular coin, and only one such coin exists, the resulting bidding war can push prices into the stratosphere. Auction houses like Heritage, Stack's Bowers, and Legend have facilitated sales of rare coins for prices that seemed impossible just a decade or two ago. And experts predict that the market will continue to grow as more wealth is created globally and as rare coins become increasingly recognized as legitimate investment vehicles and stores of value. The 1946 wheat penny worth $135 million represents the absolute peak of what's possible in this market. But even if you never find anything close to that value, the pursuit of rare wheat pennies is still incredibly rewarding and potentially profitable. Think about this. Every single wheat penny you encounter, whether in circulation, in coin rolls from the bank, or in inherited collections, deserves a careful examination because you never know what you might find. Check the date, check the mint mark, look for doubling, look for off-center strikes, look for unusual characteristics, and above all, pay attention to condition because even common date wheat pennies in MS 65 or better condition can be worth $20, $50, $100 or more, which is a pretty incredible return on investment for a 1-cent coin. Get yourself a good magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe. Invest in a red book or other coin pricing guide. Join online collecting communities and start searching because the next great discovery could be made by you. The beauty of wheat pennies is that they're still accessible. You don't need to spend thousands of dollars to start a collection. You can literally start by going through your pocket change, requesting coin rolls from your bank, or buying inexpensive lots of wheat pennies online or at coin shops. And as you search through them, you'll start to develop an eye for what's normal and what's unusual, and that education is invaluable. The stories of people finding valuable coins in everyday situations are not urban legends. They're real, they happen regularly, and there's no reason you couldn't be the next person to make a discovery that changes your life. Imagine the feeling of examining a wheat penny and suddenly realizing that the doubling you're seeing matches a valuable variety you've read about, or finding a coin in such pristine condition that it takes your breath away, or discovering an error that's not even listed in the reference books because no one has documented it before. These moments of discovery are what make numismatics so addictive and exciting, and they're available to anyone willing to learn and to look carefully. The 1946 wheat penny worth $135 million might be a once-in-a-lifetime coin, possibly the most valuable penny that will ever exist, but it exists as proof that these treasures are real, that ordinary-looking coins can hide extraordinary value, and that the next great discovery is out there somewhere, waiting for someone to find it. As we wrap up this incredible journey through three of the most valuable wheat pennies in existence, I want you to remember several key lessons. First, never underestimate the potential value of your pocket change and inherited coins, because treasures are hiding in plain sight. Second, education is your most powerful tool, so learn about errors, varieties, and grading, and use that knowledge to examine coins carefully. Third, condition matters enormously, so if you find old coins, handle them carefully and store them properly to preserve their value. Fourth, get valuable coins professionally authenticated and graded, because certification dramatically increases marketability and price. And finally, enjoy the journey. Coin collecting isn't just about finding expensive coins. It's about connecting with history, appreciating the artistry and technical achievement of minting, joining a wonderful community of fellow enthusiasts, and experiencing the thrill of the hunt and the joy of discovery. Whether you're examining the 1954 wheat penny worth $50 million, the 1951 worth $78 million, or this magnificent 1946 worth $135 million, you're looking at pieces of American history that tell stories about our nation's past, our economy, our art, and our collective heritage. These coins were touched by people who lived through World War II, who built the post-war boom, who experienced history firsthand, and now they've become windows into that past and vessels of tremendous value. So go forth, search your coins, learn everything you can, and who knows, maybe you'll be the one who finds the next great numismatic treasure, and maybe someday we'll be making a video about the coin you discovered, the coin that changed your life, and the coin that added to the incredible legacy of American numismatics. Thank you so much for watching The Coin Hunter. And remember, fortune favors the observant. So keep your eyes open and happy hunting.